for everything you do. For those that don't know, Rosie doesn't just talk the talk. She actually went down to South Carolina. She's been engaged, working for Rick. And I will tell you, Rosie, we have polling here in Pennsylvania. He's winning big in Pennsylvania. So since I don't know everybody in this room, and I am new to politics, what I thought I'd do is give you a little bit about my background, then walk you through where I think we've gone wrong as a country, and last, and probably most importantly, how I think we move forward as a country together to get back on track. I grew up in Chester County, about 45 miles outside of Philadelphia. I have an engineering degree from Penn State, and a couple years out of school started a company called Mitos. And did anybody here get a flu shot this year? Anybody? Raise your hand. You got a flu shot? Okay. We made the back-end systems that are used to manufacture a lot of the vaccines and biological drugs that are in the marketplace today. Didn't know any better as a 23-year-old. Candidly, I actually was naive enough to believe that banks lent money to 23-year-olds with an ID on a napkin, and they didn't then, or they certainly don't now. So I bootstrapped it, and over about a decade, I turned it into a global business. After I sold that business, I realized that my heart of heart, I'm a geek. I will tell you, I love building products. I love seeing the need in the marketplace and building a product to fit that need. So I started a company with a couple other entrepreneurs called Dream It Ventures. And at Dream It, what we do is we try to help entrepreneurs take an idea on a napkin. In a very short, intense period of time, take that idea and turn it into a viable business. And in the last 4 years, we've turned out 64 companies from that program. Been featured in the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Forbes. It's kind of a new model for American innovation. And I will tell you, I see thousands, literally thousands of ideas a year. There is no shortage of ideas in this country. There is no shortage of innovation. We simply have a government that is making it harder and harder for people to take those ideas and turn them into viable businesses. And I think that has to stop, and it has to stop in 2012, and we have a unique chance here in Pennsylvania. I think the time has come for us to come together, not only as a party, but as a conservative movement, because the battle that lies ahead of us, don't fool yourself. The other side is well engaged, the other side is well funded, and we know what we know. This is the crossroads election. It comes down to this election. Too many of our citizens out of work. We have people that are struggling to stay in their homes, and we see red ink as far as the eye can see. When I look at Washington, I see career politicians that simply don't have a clue how this economy works. That has to change now. It can change in Pennsylvania. The road to the White House can end in Pennsylvania. We're going to have a real contrast here. I mean, I will tell you, we're going to lay out a different agenda. We're going to talk about the exceptionalism of American entrepreneurialism, in which we empower our citizens to use their talents and their creativity to go out and create products and services that people need. And that raises the standard of all Americans. And we're going to contrast that with Bob Casey and Barack Obama's big government agenda. A top-down approach to Washington knows best to the economy. An agenda that has clearly driven down the standard of living of all Americans. Look at the numbers. Last decade, the standard of living in this country has decreased. Poverty is up. Unemployment is actually up in the lower income areas. These policies of the left actually hurt the same people they claim to protect. And we're going to talk about our vision of America, one that's responsible. We're going to live up to our pact, the pact that every generation that has come before us has lived up to, which is to make sure that the next generation inherits a country that's better than we received. And we're going to contrast that with Bob Casey and Barack Obama's very selfish agenda, one in which they spend and borrow trillions and trillions of dollars so that they don't have to make the tough decisions, so that they can try to buy votes and keep themselves in office. And that is a stark contrast, and I assure you, if we take it to the voters with that message, we will win. When you look at Bob Casey in 2006, it's actually quite comical. He actually ran talking about being fiscally conservative. He talked about balancing the budget. In fact, he actually talked about being an independent voice for Washington. Bob Casey, he did. There's clip. The good news is there's an internet now. We can see these things. So let's look at the results. This is a guy that has voted with the president 98% of the time. The bailouts, the takeover, Obamacare, cap and trade. He voted for it all. And I promise you, I will not let Pennsylvanians get away with believing that this guy's an independent voice. He is nothing but a rubber stamp for Barack Obama and his big government agenda. So Casey's going to try to run this election as who he's not. And in his defense, he doesn't really have a choice. I'm going to run this election about who I am. I've been honest with the voters and across the state and in this room from the very beginning about my partisan path. Because I think it's really important that we're honest with ourselves. That when we were in charge of Washington the last time, in a lot of ways we failed. We blew up the size of government. We let earmarks run rampant. We let corruption get out of control. And it hurt us. It hurt us not only as a party, but it hurt us as a country. And in this state alone, we lost hundreds of thousands of voters because we didn't govern consistent with our values. And I was one of them. But I came running back. When I saw the big Obama agenda, when I saw Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, and Bob Casey's agenda, I didn't just come running back, though. I came running back with a vengeance and ensured that we would make sure this Republican Party never abandoned its principles again. That's the only way we're going to change this country. And I wasn't alone. Thousands of people across the state and across this country got involved for the first time. And that's what elected Bob Casey, or elected Pat Toomey to the Senate, Tom Corbett as governor. And why we won up and down the ticket in 2010. And we have to take that same fight, that same energy into this election. That's the only way we can win. We start 1 million voters down in Pennsylvania. We have to have more fight from the other side. And if we stick to our principles of limited government, personal responsibility, fidelity to the Constitution, we will not only win in Pennsylvania, we will win across this land, and we will instill our values in the White House, and our values in a new Republican-controlled majority. Second chances in life truly are a blessing. And in 2010, I think the voters of Pennsylvania gave us a second chance. And as your Senate nominee, I will travel to every corner of the state to make sure that we bring those voters back. Those voters that made a mistake in 2006 and 2008, we have to win them back. And I'll use my story, and not just my political story, but my life story, which is very much an American story. Taking an idea on a napkin, turning it into a business, building a manufacturing company, and now helping the others do the same. You know, America, the more you're outside of America, the more you do realize it's exceptionalism. And I see, as I travel across the state, you see a lot of anxiety about India and China, the rise of the emerging markets. And I will tell you, as somebody that has been in manufacturing plants across this globe, please don't believe the hype. We are still the most productive. We are still the hardest working. We are still the most innovative society has ever seen. We simply have a government that is bankrupting us. We simply have a government that is making us less competitive in the global economy. And that has to change in 2010. I cannot guarantee many things in life, but I can guarantee this. I will fight with every fiber of my being between now and November 6th to make sure we get back on track. But I cannot do it alone. Pennsylvania is too big. Pennsylvania is too complex. I need every person here. I need you committed to this fight. And together, I assure you, we can build a party. Together, I assure you, we can win elections. But most importantly, together, we can move the hearts and minds of the people of Pennsylvania, and that is the only way policy is going to follow, so that when we're in charge this time, we return to the values that made this the greatest country in the history of the world. Thank you, and God bless.